this is Baroness Lucia for Eldemere at Home, and I'm interviewing Sir Richard Larmer. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Sir Richard Larmer, Alphabet Soup Time, Companion of the Order of the Pelican, Court Baron, Order of Theo Baron's Hammer, and a bunch of other awards. I've been in the SCA since 1989. I served with my lady, Baroness Annabelle, as the Baron and Baroness of Rising Waters for 5 years, and lived actually all my SCA life pretty well in Rising Waters, except for 1 year in September. I currently have a kingdom level deputy job for social media. Some people call it the Kingdom Social Media Officer, some people call it the Kingdom Social Media Deputy, either way. But that's my kingdom level job, and I also have a local marshal in the barony here. So that's who I am and what I'm doing.
So what is involved in the social media officer position?
So the primary position is to basically make sure that all of the official social media platforms of the SCA within the kingdom run in accordance to the guidelines. There's a set of guidelines published back in 2019 that outline what we can and can't have on official sites. And to a lesser extent, if there's unofficial sites, I like to try to ask those sites to make it clear that they're unofficial. And sometimes I actually give those people advice. You know, I might say to them, well, you got a site, you know, Eldemerian porridge makers sort of thing, unofficial. And one person's the administrator. I will say to them, there should be 2 or 3 people as administrators, because what happens if that one person, something, God forbid, happens to them, right? Then the site doesn't have anyone to run it. But, you know, obviously they can say whatever they want because they're not an official site. So, so that's my primary job. I have a few people helping me. Eventually, sometime in the next year, I'm going to have to look for a replacement. So, but yeah, so that's my primary job, to keep that all running smoothly.
Do you cover Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, everything, or just do you have a narrow focus?
Everything. Now, the reality, of course, is, okay, SCA officially doesn't do TikTok. There are some kingdoms experimenting with it. Within Eldemere, we have Facebook account, or Facebook accounts, of course. We have Twitter as kingdom level. We have a kingdom YouTube page, which of course these videos are going up on, which is great. And we have a kingdom Instagram. And I think there can be, I'm not sure if there's an SCA Pinterest or not, but I have no interest in that. I will be honest with you, I would say 95% of the traffic is on the Eldemerian Facebook page. And then basically 5% of the traffic is now on the YouTube site because of all the great work that Master Colin and others like yourself are doing. And the Facebook page, especially in this time of the pandemic, is literally where the SCA is living right now. You know, that's where people are discussing things. And that's the biggest part of my job, is just overseeing that. We have the terms of reference from Facebook itself. We want to stay in compliance with. Not that that's likely to be a problem, but also the society has guidelines, which again are in that document. It's available on the Kingdom Society webpage, I should say. And so basically it's a matter of, you know, people playing nicely there. And so.
Do you work with the Lord Register or the Chronicler?
No, not really. I work. I report to the Seneschal, Kingdom Seneschal. So I'm a deputy of that office. So I don't necessarily work with a chronicler. One thing I would like to do, and I'm actually hoping to, I've got a new deputy coming on that I'm going to see if I can engage with that person to put more things on the Instagram account. I did some of that myself, and I just haven't done as much I would like to. As you may know, in social media, there's some demographic splits. I gather Facebook is sort of more the middle-aged and older crowd, and the younger crowd has moved more to Instagram for sharing things. And we, of course, it's, you know, the SCA needs to grow with younger people. And so if we have things on Instagram, that will help increase our presence for people to find us. And what's actually really delightful is we have new people joining the SCA during the pandemic.
That is
Of
pretty
course,
cool.
the way they come to us is they join the Facebook page. And so I'm approving a few new people a week. Now, some of these people are people from other kingdoms, let's say, who want to see what Eldemir is doing, or they want to promote their kingdom's university, like Atlantia did that, for instance. But I would say a few times a month, I get an email, a Facebook request from someone saying, I've heard about the SCA, I'm interested in it, so I want to see what's going on. So they're showing up on the Kingdom Facebook page. And of course, sometimes they say, well, when's the first meetup? And sadly, we have to say, well, you know, we're very limited in what we can do there. But one thing I would like to say is one thing we have to consider when we're discussing things on the Kingdom Facebook page is the fact that, especially in the time of the pandemic, but even when the pandemic's over, for some people, that's their very first exposure to the Kingdom of Eldemir. You know, that's it used to be in the past, your first exposure was a meeting or an event, right? Now it's what's on the screen. So if they see really interesting things on the screen, like, hey, look at this thing I made, or I have a question about 10th century Anglo-Saxon clothing, that's great. On the other hand, if they see unpleasant conversation, let's say, then what is that the image we want to see?
Right.
To see. Obviously, like every group, we have our differences and we have to hash things out. But when we do it anywhere, especially on social media where stuff lives forever,
Yep.
we need to make sure we're doing it very politely, again, because we lack the nuance on social media, and give each other the benefit of the doubt, and keep it on the topic, make sure it doesn't become personal. In fact, that's part of the society guidelines, is that you can't be attacking a person on our social media. We also have some other guidelines. It's unfortunately not in the handbook, but it comes from the Society Exchequer's office. Any financial matters on there have to be specifically SCA. So you can't have advertisements for goods that aren't SCA. So if I decided to open up, you know, honest Dick's used armor and put it up on the Kingdom page, that's not allowed. And that's caused some pushback from the merchants, which I understand, especially in this time of events not happening. So occasionally I have to play the bad guy and have that post taken down. And one thing I do is if either I ask the person to take the post down, or else if I take it down, I put an explanation in, explaining why. You know, it's a society rule, and if you want to talk to me about it, here's my email address, right? And sign mine, because actually when you take a post down on Facebook as an administrator, it can be done anonymously, but I like them to know that, hey, it's Richard Larmer did it. I'm the bad guy, and I'm certainly there to, and I've had some people, you know, write back to me saying, well, hey, why is this? Let's talk about this. And what if I want to make my opinion known about this? Because I think this is, you know, a bad rule or whatever. Well, here's the society social media officer's email address, and she's quite prepared to receive that information. And you know, so that's probably I would say the bulk of the job is just keeping on top of the Facebook page. Then, you know, I have my deputies at the baronial level, the shire level, the cantons, the strong and stuff. So I try to work through the various sub-officers. So for instance, each barony has a social media officer. So I expect them to be overseeing their local cantons. But I just sort of keep an eye on what's going on there too. And occasionally I'll see something and I'll prod my deputy saying, hey, you know, maybe do something about this, right?
Right.
But one thing actually I will say, I'm sounding like I'm a little negative here, but Eldemir, I love Eldemir, and I've said this to my to my superior at the society level and other people. Eldemir is a wonderful kingdom when it comes to social media. You may have heard that in some kingdoms there's been some very unpleasant experiences taking place. I think that's somewhat reflective of what's going on in our greater society this year. Some people are saying hurtful things. And there's been ramifications of that at points, including actions by royals. We've not had that in Elderberry. We've had occasionally a little thing or two. It gets dealt with very quickly. It doesn't cascade on, so to speak. So we're a wonderful kingdom that way, and it makes my job much easier. And I think it makes it for a better kingdom, right? When that new person shows up and they go to the Kingdom Facebook page, they're going to see, positive posts about the things that we love to do in the SCA.
What sort of posts do you like to see?
I guess what people are doing, especially this time, right? And that's what this series of videos is great, right? It's what people are doing and such, because we're all spread apart right now, right? And people sharing interesting things. Like one of the things I do is I often share the stuff. In fact, I'm usually directed to do this. Share stuff from the SCA.org or the Society for Grave Anachronism Facebook group or page or group to the Kingdom group. And so that's often positive stuff. And occasionally I'll share things from other kingdoms. But if people want to post, like, here's this great piece of medieval music I found on YouTube, or here's something I've made, that kind of thing. I know many of the arts and science items get discussed on the arts and science page, which is probably fine. But if someone's finished a project, maybe they should share that on the Kingdom group, so people can see.
Nudge people in that direction.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're a Laurel, and that's the things we do see that stuff. It's not like it's and obviously people can share things like, hey, I miss my friends, right? But that, to my mind, that's a positive post because it's showing people that we love what we do in the SCA. We love the people in it. We miss them. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And obviously there's the official stuff that needs to be there too.
So you mentioned that you will have to find a replacement one day.
Yep.
What sort of things would the interested candidates need to keep in mind?
Well, obviously they need to be on social media fairly strongly. They shouldn't be a kind of person who disappears to canoe in Algonquin once a month kind of thing, right? Now, we do have, at the Kingdom level, we have multiple moderators on the page, or on the group, I should say, right? But the volume isn't very high. That generally, we don't need them, so to speak. We've had a few unfortunate situations where literally things have happened in real time, exactly when I am busy. Like I was on my way to set up for an event when things went south on the Kingdom group. And it's like, I'm trying to do the SCA. This is happening over here.
Yeah,
I learned some lessons from it. Some things could have been done better, and I fixed some of that. And that's why we have a number of people who now oversee that group. And we're expanding that. But so basically, the person should be online pretty well every day. And they should be in a position where either with their mobile device or with their desktop, they can keep an eye on the Kingdom group, and also the rest of the Kingdom too. So that's the first thing. And they should have some technical skills. Obviously, the social media stuff isn't immensely complicated, but it can be nuanced and it can change over time. And then also, I think they need to have a bit of try to be dispatched from things, so to speak. People might say nasty things about you because you're being the cop, but you need to be the kind of person who does not take that personally. Every Kingdom officer is a human being. There is no robot sitting there, right? Just like the Society Board of Directors are human beings. They're not the Borg, right? So the person needs to have a bit of a thick skin for that, so to speak. Not that thick of skin, but they just need to have that sense of it, right? And so that sense of decorum too, right? And sort of, because I think technically you'd be administrator, but another term that the Facebook uses, one of the lower ranks, is a moderator. So you need to moderate things. You need to try to calm things down. Doesn't always work, You're never going to make everyone happy. And then I think a person also should be interested in promoting the SCA. This is something I've done some of, as I said, with Instagram, and I'd like to get more done. And so I think I want to deputize someone to do that for me. So because I think we need to, in this day and age, promote ourselves on social media, because one, we can't hold events or demos. And then even when we get out of this pandemic and life returns to some kind of new normal, people are still going to find us that way. You know, the person who's always been interested in joining the SCA come next June is probably might find us because of Instagram.
I agree that your job is a delicate balancing act between like marketing and group cohesion, like
Yes.
the moderating side. It's got to be a very difficult tightrope.
Well, it's not. I don't find it that difficult. In most cases, if I have to play the bad cop, to my mind, it's pretty cut and dry. And there's been some conversations where you could see that they might go south and they don't, which is why I love my kingdom, right? You think, okay, good. People were adults here, right? And they focused on the fact that they're trying to discuss a topic rather than, well, you know, you such and such kind of, you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way of reaching you? On Facebook?
They can reach me on Facebook, and you have to use my modern one, the KSMO account. It's actually going to be shut down shortly because it actually breaks. Yeah, it's going to be shut down very shortly. But my email address is the best way to reach me, actually. But that's actually the best way to reach me because I don't get very many emails, so right away it gets my attention. And actually, one of the things I was doing, and this is where if someone wanted to grab hold of the Instagram horns, is we have a treasure trove of pictures in this kingdom because we have many superb photographers who've taken, you know, thousands of excellent pictures. And so for a while there, back in the spring, I would try to post pictures around events from, you know, that would have been happening.
Yeah, you were doing great with that.
Yeah, right. And then you know, my employer decided they needed my time, so that took up a lot of my time. But that's, so literally we could, you know, someone could do the same thing. They could be posting, you know, we could have just had post pictures of Baron's Howe, right? You know, we have usually a coronation and crown tourney at this time. So we get pictures of that. All the other events that take place. So it'd be great to get some of those pictures posted up around the event on Instagram so people can see, hey, this is what the SCA does, right? You know, this is and all the color that comes with it.
Absolutely. And hopefully the social media will help keep us together until then.
Well, and it is actually. I think this is great that people can keep in touch with each other via social media. Yeah.
So drop you a line at all of the hashtag Eldemir sites.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking to me.
Certainly.
And I think we'll call it done.
Great. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.